Welcome back, guys, to video number 3. This is where I'm going to run you through the example of how I am implementing the BRRRR strategy myself. So I'm going to run through how I am doing this. So my Coolbellup deal, I'm doing a development at the moment, and I'm actually keeping these 3 properties. So 2 of them under construction, but one is actually the house we're living in while we're doing the development. So I have used the equity from that particular property to do this first deal in Joondalup. So just to recap, I've got equity in the Coolbellup property. So obviously the development, they're already on 3 separate titles. So you can't refinance or you can't use equity from the houses under construction, but you can use the equity from the existing one. So the one that I renovated, that we're currently living in, I am using the equity from that property, and I went and bought a property in Joondalup. It was a unit. Okay, so why units? The unit market in Perth is about to have some massive growth. It's really getting to that undersupply now, where everything's under offer, selling really quickly, but it still hasn't had the growth. So there's going to be substantial growth in there. And I believe that because I have a really good property analyst who has told me that it will. So anyway, I settled on a property in February, a unit in Joondalup. Okay, so just to recap as well, the unit in Joondalup, it was a bank mortgagee. So when I did my research, I could see that there was properties in Joondalup. In this complex, there's only a complex of 8. I could see that there was sales evidence for 420, and I was able to get this property, bank mortgagee, for 300,000. So I bought it significantly under market, and the renovation wasn't substantial. I ended up spending 25k on the renovation. All right, so that's all it cost me. Obviously, stamp duty, 10k or what it would have been with purchase cost, renovation 25k. Anyway, I now know that it's worth about 420 because there's actually been 3 other sales in the complex. Probably all sold because of the one that I bought. There obviously, some things going on there, so that's probably why the other 3 sold. But they've all sold, so I can see based on what they got for theirs. Okay, I now know what mine is worth. It was easy to do the research on that. Now, essentially, I've created 95,000 equity. If you say, it's cost me 325 and it's worth 420, you could say I've created 95,000 in equity, and I've rented the property out only just now, and I'm receiving $550 a week in rent. So remembering with this strategy, we want to be buying properties that are hopefully positive cash flow, but if not, at least close to neutral sort of thing. We can't be using properties that are heavily negatively geared because we're not going to have the serviceability to buy more and more sort of thing and repeat this process, use this strategy. So what I've done is I'm going to walk you through here as to how, and I've obviously vetted this with my finance broker. So this is what's happening for my next purchase. So keeping in mind, Joondalup is now worth 420. Now, the bank is going to give me 80% of that 420. So they're going to give me 336,000, essentially. Now they're not going to give me 336, but I'm going to borrow me 80% of that 420. It's 336. Then I purchased the property that Joondalup for 240. So 336,000 minus the $240,000, which was the purchase price, because the other money, the other 60,000, which is part of the 300, that is obviously tied to the Coolbellup deal. So 330 minus the 240, I now have $96,000 to play with as far as equity. So essentially, I can use this $96,000 now as a deposit to fund my next deal. Okay, so what I'm looking for now is I'm actually looking for another unit in Perth. Like I said before, I expect there to be some strong growth in the Perth unit market. So rather than just selling and flipping it, and making. I'm like, well, there's going to be some substantial growth over the next couple of years, so I will accumulate a few more units, hopefully using this strategy. Just got to find them, obviously. But yeah, so just to recap on how this works, essentially, is the Junedana unit is 420. That's the value today, and I can get 80% of that 420 from the lender. So 80% means there'd be no lender's mortgage insurance. So that is $336,000. Now, I only have a $240,000 loan on Junedana because I used the equity to fund it. So even though it's a 300 purchase, because I used the equity from Kubala, that other 60,000 or whatever is, or just a bit more, obviously with holding with purchase costs, is obviously tied to the Kubala deal. So 336 minus what's owing on Junedana 240 gives me, so the difference here is 96,000. So that's the equity that I have to use to fund the next purchase. So obviously how much I actually borrow, how much the price, the property purchase price or whatever, of course will come down to serviceability for everybody. But this is the equity that I can draw from this deal now in order to go again. So I hope that makes sense, but I'm just going to obviously just finish with why BRRRR is better than traditional buy and hold. And I've already mentioned this in video 1, but I want to recap. The reason why BRRRR strategy can work better for you than your traditional buy and hold is we are not having to wait for the property to grow in value before we go again. So we're not having to wait for the market to do the heavy lifting because we are manufacturing. That brings me to point 2. We are manufacturing the growth through buying under market value and getting the uplift from the renovation. Now, this is a faster way to accumulate and build a portfolio rather than relying on your traditional buy and hold. That's it, guys. That's the end of the mini-series. I hope you got some value from that, and I hope to speak with you all soon.